How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another video. So last video went ahead and posted up the truck for sale. The truck is not sold yet. I had a few inquiries, but nothing worked out so far. Seems to be that getting rid of a dually these days is not super easy with gas prices and economy and everything like that. So we'll see if it goes anywhere, but it's still for sale. Just want to give you guys a heads up on that. But last video you may have seen the new vehicle, but I'm going to go ahead and show you what the dually replacement is. Now, before I get into it real quick, there is a decent chance that if it doesn't wind up selling, I do like the dually more than our other vehicle, which is a Prius. So I might wind up holding on to both. We'll see, but I'm not really going to be super butthurt if it doesn't sell, which is good for you guys. You got more content, good for me. I got to keep my truck, and we'll get into it. So let me go ahead and show you the new vehicle that we picked up. Well, new to us, not brand new, obviously. And yep. All right, so standing right over there, and it is a 2012 Ford Expedition. So let's go ahead and give a quick walk around. It's very clean, has 150,000 miles on it. Picked it up for $12,900, and it's one owner. Garage kept most of its life, which is awesome. So there's no rust issues or anything like that. And everything is really, really clean on it. I'm just kind of gonna do a quick walk around. We give it a good detail and then a rain, of course. And it's been getting kind of beat up in terms of dirt and crap, but here it is. So has nice auto folding steps. It is a limited, but it doesn't have quite all the options. Looks like it was a custom spec from the dealer originally, but super clean. This thing is really, really nice. All the space back there. We don't have kids, at least not yet, but this will be awesome because every time I travel, I usually need interior space more than exterior, and all the seats fold down, basically give you the size of a full bed back there if you really need it. So that is a huge benefit. And yeah, so basically what happened is the wife has decided that she likes this a lot better than her car, and I started daily driving this, which makes sense. I drive more miles anyway, so I've been driving the Prius over there. And I feel like I kind of got screwed on that deal because I went from a truck to a Prius, but it is what it is. So I kind of wanted to go over this vehicle and everything about it. Not really everything. I'm still getting introduced to it, and then we'll knock out a little bit of small maintenance items. It is a used vehicle, so there's a couple of small things to go on. So right off the bat, so very simple things I noticed. The seat a little bit beat up on the front here, small tear. So I'm going to be doing a replacement seat cover in the future, same as I did on the truck, and that'll pretty much fix everything on the interior. And then at some point I want to change out the radio for a nav unit because I think it would look much nicer and be more functional there. Probably add a brake controller and everything else like that. I think we should be good. So on the topics of brake controller, go ahead and pop the hood as well. It does have a 7-way connector, and one of the big reasons I wanted this stuck out over a Tahoe or something else like that is because one already has a 7-way, which is sweet, but the towing capacity on this vehicle is 9,200 pounds. So we may need to add some helper airbags back here in the future. Inside the springs, you can go ahead and do something, kind of help level it out if we ever wind up loading it down anywhere near that heavy. But this means it can tow the trailer, the car trailer we just got, and even really the enclosed trailer I had before without many issues, which was a huge, huge benefit. That's what I was looking for mainly. Plenty of room inside, miles per gallon. It's about the same as the truck. Except it's gas, so you get better fill-ups aren't so bad. Towing, I'm sure, is probably not as great, but you know what? It is what it is. I don't tow that often. So same thing on the passenger side here. Pretty awesome. Coming from me, who comes from the newest vehicle I owned was the Shelby right there. It was 2007. Going to a 2012, might as well be a new vehicle. I feel like I've matured about 10 years getting into something a lot nicer like this, but transmission's good, engine's good, obviously. So it's got the 5.4 3 valve in it. Let's go ahead and open that up real quick. So under the hood, we have the 5.4 3 valve. It is a little dirty. We'll go ahead and clean this up at some point, but I'm not too worried about it. Well maintained. Yeah, really not much to say about it. So there are some stipulations with the 5.4 that some people are concerned about. The older 5.4s from 2005 to 2008, I believe, had a spark plug issue to where it would actually, the threads weren't deep enough on the heads and it would actually shoot spark plugs out. So obviously that's not good. It was fixed in 2008 and onward, so this is 2012, it should be fine there. Another well-known issue on these is the cam phaser issue. So I had a 2007 Mustang GT, had the same 4.6 liter 3 valve, really the same except for the stroke, I guess, a little different. Nothing too crazy there. So the cam phasers, these each have a single overhead cam, and the cam phaser sits right here. And basically what that does is adjust timing a little bit. It has variable valve timing. So at some point, either an oil passage gets clogged or something breaks off, and you'll start getting a ticking noise. So if that eventually happens, which I'm sure it will under my ownership, we'll obviously replace it, and it should be fine. But yeah, so she's a little dirty under here, nothing too crazy. We'll get that cleaned up. But other than that, I mean, it's a clean motor. This has been Illinois or Missouri, I think, all of its life. So nothing too crazy. They do salt the roads there from time to time, which is why it was such a huge deal to find one without any issues with rust. So I went ahead and looked at two other ones before picking up this one. The first one was 2010, I believe, and he was asking 13.5. And that was the first one I looked at, so I didn't have any wiggle room. But the main issue on that one was it had rust. And obviously, after dealing with other vehicles that I've seen with rust, didn't want to deal with that. But these are notorious for starting to rust up in these spots right in here, around here, and it'll start bubbling up pretty nasty. Same thing in some of the corners. So the first one we looked at, they were asking 13.5, and the tailgate had rust on it. The rest of it was pretty clean, but I didn't want to deal with it. So the next one we looked at was not the EL. So the EL stands for extended length, which means you get this longer half section. The regular one comes out, I think it stops about here. So it looks a little bit silly, in my opinion, compared to this one because it's a shorter vehicle for an expedition. But yeah, so nothing too crazy. That's just called the regular one, but the problem was the rockers were all rusted out. So there's a little bit going on here. I went ahead and wire wheeled this just to make sure it was good. But on that one, the whole rocker was completely rusted out. And the next one I looked at, and that was obviously a no-go. I did like the interior on that better. It was black, but it is what it is. So those are the main two trouble points to pay attention to. And honestly, I'm not really sure what Ford's deal was with making this little shelf here, because it just catches water and stuff from the tires. So I may need to go back in here with some Pour 15 or something and really make sure we get that good. Looks a little ugly, but it's fine. So other than that, main thing is keep it washed and clean out all your wheel well areas during the winter time, and it should be fine. And then it's really about it. So I do have a little bit of maintenance to do this thing, which we're going to do today. The oil change sticker up on the window says it should be changed by now. However, the maintenance light hasn't come on yet, so it should be every 7,500 miles it needs an oil change. Looks like our battery's a little corroded, so we'll take care of that too while we're at it. So I'm going to do an oil change on it. Takes a 5W20. And then the other thing that I've noticed is the rear brakes are having a bit of a squeak whenever we hit them. So I'm going to go ahead and pop off both rear tires, give it a rotate, and see if we can figure out what's up. I bought new brake pads just in case they're actually worn down. So we'll see. There's a little bit of like little material on there, so it's hard to say if the brake pads are worn down or if something's stuck. One of the biggest things I've noticed on vehicles in this area, my parents have some up in Michigan, and I noticed it's starting to happen to the truck here, but I don't know if it's the salt or what, but the actual brake caliper guide pins get seized up, and your calipers compress, but they don't uncompress because they're now seized. And what happens is it wears out your brake pads super fast, and then you're done. So whatever reason, shops do not seem to be taking care of that and re-lubing them when they put new pads on, and it just absolutely screws them up. So you put brand new brakes on, you spend a couple $100 from a shop, and then they don't fix that issue, and all of a sudden you're out of brake pads again. So I've done that, I kid you not, in the last year, probably to 3 or 4 different vehicles. And every time I see one, to include today, I saw a buddy's, same deal, one of the pins was seized up. So that's very, very interesting. But yeah, so without further ado, let's go in the garage. I'll show you what we picked up for this thing. So in the garage, we got some stuff here. This is not related to the car, but I am making another video on kitchen renovation stuff. This is going to be for our refrigerator surround. That's the cabinet that goes over top, the old door to our pantry. If you guys pay attention to the video where I put up the recessed lighting, that's what that's about. And then quick thing on the GT500, we are getting back to springtime finally, but I really need to focus on the kitchen, so I'm not going to be doing too much car stuff just yet. However, March 15th or March 18th, I think it's March 18th, the drag strip's doing its first test and tune of the year, so I might try and make it out to that, and we'll see what happens. So should be some GT500 content coming soonish. Now that our bypass is fixed and everything, I'm really excited to see what she'll do. I did go down to the bigger pulley, or up to the bigger pulley, because I wasn't comfortable pushing almost 20 PSI. We'll do a couple track hits, see how it feels, and if I think it could have more boost, we'll add more boost. If not, we'll keep it the way it is, but that's the deal in the car. So as far as stuff we got, windshield wipers, because the garage kept most of its life, I think. And I just don't think I drove it much in the rain, which is good for me, but the wipers are shot. These are our brake pads we just picked up, and they should come with a kit, which I'll show you guys in a minute. Come on. Oh, I'm stupid. Yeah, so it should come with this little hardware pin kit. So if it's seized up, it should be there, and that should undo it. And these are our new pads. So I haven't done pads in the Expedition before. Watched the video, it seemed pretty easy. On Rock Auto, I've been finding the Motorcraft full synthetic. So this is exactly what you want from the factory. Same thing with the GT500. It's been a really good deal. It's like $6 a quart, maybe $8, something like that, which is cheaper than AMSOIL. And I mean, it's the good stuff. Like, it's literally, they're full synthetic. Motorcraft designed for the motor, which is awesome. So this thing takes 7 quarts, so it is a good bit, but it is what it is. And then I've been really liking the Wix oil filters. I'm sure Motorcraft is just fine too, but on the GT500 I run Motorcraft. For this, I'm just gonna run a Wix as well. So let's get at it. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the rear brakes. I know the oil is probably fine for a little bit, so if we have time today, we'll also do that. But for right now, let's go ahead and hop on the brakes and make sure that we're not having any issues. All right, so first things first, let me go ahead and pop off the wheel. I went ahead and put a wheel chock onto the driver's side over there. You can see it, but it should be easy enough. Before we jack it up, let's go ahead and pop all these loose. Something I don't like, I'm pretty sure these are them. I think Ford has this 2-piece lug nut design. So this is what I think it is. Probably gonna change these out pretty soon here with a 1-piece that's gonna trash. All right, so now that we're in here, it's kind of interesting. So I haven't looked at one of these before, but yeah, so we got an independent rear suspension in the rear, which is a good and bad thing. Good thing because it is more comfortable and better ride. Bad thing because when it comes to towing, it's not quite as good. So I'm actually not sure if I could put a helper airbag in here, because the ones I was thinking of ride inside of the spring. So I'm actually not sure how that would work. I'd have to look up. It might be a custom kit or something. It's a little interesting. Nothing too crazy to think of, but it is what it is. Anyway, so I put it in neutral. Okay, that's not very helpful. It's not going to spin over as freely as I was hoping, but no biggie. Looking at our brake though, this is where it gets dumb. So this is your hardware piece. So this pops out the one, another one right here, and then it's an Allen key. I don't know if you guys can see that in there or not. So let me get my Allen set, and then from there you basically pop the 2 bolts out, and you can take the caliper out. So let me just figure out what size that is. We're going to take off the 2 caliper bolts, and we'll slide the caliper off itself, and see how everything looks. All right, so it's 7mm, and let's go ahead and pop this guy out now. All right, actually really pleasantly surprised. The brakes look phenomenal. Plenty of pad life left, as you guys can see. So I guess we're not changing these things out. I'm gonna pop these out. We'll go ahead and re-grease them just on the ends here. Our guide pins are nice and well lubed. So Geyer did take pretty good care of this. That's actually really nice to see. As far as the squeak, I'm not really sure. That is interesting. I know some pads just do squeak, but likely we probably got some dirt in here, or they might be like a metallic pad, which might actually be able to just change out now. I know they have it. I have the StopTech ceramic pads in there. You know what? Screw it. We're already this far apart. I'm gonna go ahead and just change them out because might as well. I mean, these things are not that old, it looks like, but might as well just do it. It's already here. And this way, like, I mean, that's a lot of pad life left, but I also don't like a super loud rear squeak, so we'll put in the nicer pads. So that is a little bit interesting. Check this out. So these are the StopTech, or not StopTech, these are the centric pads, and they're a ceramic, but this isn't like a huge deal, but it is kind of interesting. Look at how much more pad surface area there is. So you can see the only part contacting the wheel here is this little bit right there. It's actually a very unique design looking pad. And then the centric ones obviously have all this much bigger surface area when compared with the two next to each other. So basically this whole area will contact the rotor instead of just the smaller area. Will it make better performance? Probably, but honestly I'm not gonna be able to tell for real. So it is what it is, but let's go ahead and swap these out real quick. I'm gonna grease up all the grease points and I'll put it back together. All right, so new ones are in, and like I said, the only real difference is the amount of contact with the pad. But I mean, these things are kind of like brand new, so I'm a little bit, I don't know. These things are really great quality, so who knows? That's a little weird. I wonder if maybe like, see how this edge is kind of worn up? I wonder if maybe that was making contact with something back here, and that's why I was squeaking. Who knows? But it's good to see that consistently this vehicle is basically just as well kept up as it was advertised, which is awesome. So I mean, you can see under here, very, very minimal rust, nothing crazy. A little bit on here, but that's to be expected. I mean, that all feels tight. Our bushings are all in good shape. Everything looks really solid, so really happy with this. This is awesome. But yeah, check out everything back here. No diff leak, nothing like that. No axle seals leaking. Super clean. So I'm gonna do the other side off camera at this point because this was kind of a waste of time for you guys, and then we'll hop back when I do the oil change in a minute. All right, so the other side, same deal, no issues. And also super clean on this side. This is the side that had a little bit of rust starting to pop up. So went ahead and wire wheeled it as best I could, got it down to bare metal and hit it with a couple of coats of Rust-Oleum. So hopefully that'll cease to have any issue. I'll keep an eye on that though and make sure. This is where these things like to rust out in the rockers right here. So definitely got to keep an eye on it. But other than that, it should be good. It's like first little bit of blood on this vehicle, so that's cool. Seems to be a running theme anytime I work on a vehicle. All right, so that's that. Let's go ahead and we'll get the wheel back on. We'll knock out our oil change. All right, let's head on under here for the oil change portion. We'll say everything being equal, it's nice being able to still slide under here without having to lift up the truck. And then we'll say right there, worst oil filter location. Same in the Coyotes for whatever reason on their trucks. They put it like right there. It's easy to access, but man, does that make a mess right there. So I think that's actually what this pan is for now I'm looking at it. Oy. Anyway, we'll go ahead and get to that next. All right, oil's drained out, plugs back on. I can almost guarantee, I don't think there's actually any leaks. I almost guarantee it's all from oil changes with that filter right there. Looks pretty good. Totally forgot to mention, but there is also a front drive shaft in here. So it is a four-wheel drive vehicle, which is another huge plus that it has over my truck, which is not a four-wheel drive. I definitely want a four-wheel drive. We got winters here, and it'd be pretty nice to be able to get out in emergency if you need it, or just traveling in general. So let's go ahead and get that oil filter off next, and hopefully not make it too big of a mess. All right, so I just want to look at from the top. So it looks like that's exactly what that little piece of metal is right there, is a little drain for the oil. That's pretty wild. The only problem is at our current angle, which had I known that, I probably would have flipped this thing around before draining it. At our current angle, it might not work. So I'm gonna be careful. I put some cardboard under here as a little extra precaution, and try and clean this thing up and hopefully not have a giant mess. But that's our filter right there. So we get that thing off. So the other thing I'm just noticing is these do not look the same. So one of them is incorrect. This looks like the one that goes on the Mustang, so hopefully that's the right one that goes on here. But just thought that was a little interesting. So we'll about to find out if it's dual compatible. I don't know what part number that is. All the ones I looked up look more like this one. So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe that was just a random one they had laying around that fit at the auto store from last was last on. Hard to say. It's a little weird though. Alright, so oil filter's off. That's convenient. They have another little drip tray like this thing on the back side, so it's dripping into the pan over there. You can't quite see it, but that's cool. So let's go ahead and get the new one on. I guarantee most of that splatter that I was looking at is residual from this pan getting blown all over the motor down here. Weird design. And looking at this, what matters to me, so looks like they're both compatible. So this O-ring is the same size as this O-ring. Thread pitch looks the same. That's what really matters. This is the part that seals, obviously, so it's just a slightly different style filter. So cool, good to know. I'm gonna pre-fill this a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and put it on. Losing a little bit of daylight here. I got very alarmed because I was feeling some lines down there, and the power steering pump line on the bottom felt like super loose. Turns out it's fine. There's a swivel, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and fill this thing up with 7 quarts of oil, and it should be good to go. All right, so last thing to do is to go ahead and reset the maintenance light. Even though the maintenance light wasn't on, I might as well just reset it. Now it's got a fresh oil change. That is so cool. And really, she should be good to go. I'm gonna Google quick how to do that. We'll go ahead and reset it. All right, so this is pretty cool. All we're gonna do is flip it to accessory, and then gonna go ahead and hit setup once, twice. Oil life, 64% remaining. Sure, there is. Well, now it's 0, so hold reset equals new. Boop. Oil life, 100%. Get rid of that old Firestone sticker. I said 145 or 146,000 miles. Yeah, so we're a little over that. The main thing is, like, if they put in a regular non-synthetic, it has a shorter life, so that's maybe why they have the sticker there instead of what the car thinks it should be at. So, it's all reset now. Good to go. That's gonna go ahead and do it for messing around with the Expedition. So, you may or may not be curious if there's gonna be any mods done to it. Honestly, no. I wanna keep this thing stock as long as possible. I think it's a pretty sweet ride the way it is. Maybe this is a sign of me growing up, who knows? But the truck's loud, GT500 is loud. I want that to stay nice and quiet. I'm gonna keep stock exhaust, stock everything on that. Unless something breaks, I don't really have any intention to mess around with it. My intent is to have a vehicle that I don't need to mess around with, because the truck was just a lot. And ultimately, the things I want to do, I want to mess around with my house, and I want to mess around with the GT500, do transmission stuff, go to the track, build it, race it, and go fast. Can't really do that if every month I'm messing around with the truck multiple times to do this, that, and the other. At this point, I think I've more or less fixed it, but you know, it's a 23-year-old vehicle, so there's gonna be something. And then same deal with, you know, everything else. So pretty happy with it. It is a Ford, I understand. It's not the most reliable. Could have gone Toyota or could have gone Honda for something a little bit more reliable, but they just don't have the same specs that I wanted for towing. And the price tags on those are significantly higher than $12,900 for much higher mileage for the same year. So it is what it is, but the 2012 should be pretty solid. I know some of the newer ones, specifically with the 10 speeds and whatnot, are starting to have weird, not starting, but some of the newer stuff from Ford is having some weird issues. We should be able to good to go to and avoid all that with this one, which is what I'm pretty happy about. So I think that's gonna do it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.